and welcome back to 50 Plus Unfiltered with me, your host, Lindy Lou. Now, we may be over 50 as men or women, but we still want to look as good as we can for our age. But it's fair to say that as we get older, that does come with its own unique challenges. So I thought we would cover this topic today in terms of our skin. Probably the conversation that has the most press and is the most covered when it comes to aging. I thought I would go straight in and talk about perhaps what's less covered, and that is those things, as I call them, that just seem to appear on our bodies, seemingly sometimes overnight. You think, well, I don't remember seeing that before, and what is it? And importantly, of course, do I just have to live with it? Is that just a fact of being older? So to help me to do that today, we are joined by Anna Louise, who is from Nurse Cosmetics. Now, this is her own business and it's based in Bournemouth in Dorset, her own clinic. And she specialises in anti-aging and advanced skin aesthetics. Now, she has over 14 years experience, and forgive me, I'm going to read this because I want to get this right for Annalise and for you. So with over 14 years experience, she began her career as a state registered nurse, no less, in 2005, later earning a degree in health studies. Now, after 12 years of working across NHS in surgical, medical and emergency settings, she then established her own medical aesthetics business and built her own successful clinic. So we are absolutely delighted to have her expertise on board. So let's get into it. Anna, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
So, at 50 Plus Unfiltered, our community serves both women and men of a certain age, over 50. And so, with your vast expertise, I just wondered if you could just share with us the most common skin issues that you find in that age group.
Okay, so I would say skin lesions is a big thing in your 50s. And the reason it's more common is because of sun exposure, hormonal changes. I mean, hormones play a big part. Genetics is another factor, and also the aging process itself. So just getting older, the skin getting older, regardless of lifestyle, sometimes can cause these lesions to occur. So I would say the ones that I see most commonly are seborrheic keratosis, which are raised on the skin. They almost look like they can be scraped off. And that's very common around the trunk area, so particularly on backs, but I also see them on tummies as well, and occasionally on faces. Another type of lesion is cherry angiomas, and people often call those strawberry spots. And those are little red, very bright red. They almost look like red little moles. So they're quite common, as well as age spots and pigmentation, and also general textural changes in the skin. So yes, those are the main type of lesions that I see.
Yeah, so I was going to say, hands up, do we have to put it down to lifestyle? But you're saying a bit of that is lifestyle, and a bit of it is, I'm afraid, it's just your genetics, and you've got to live with it.
Yes.
That's life. So I know from the past that blemishes such as warts and skin tags, which are pretty common as we age, they could be dealt with in a doctor's surgery. And I guess it's because someone's gone along worried and said, I've got this, what is it? And they would deal with it then. But I guess down to the modern pressures of a GP practice, they can no longer do that, or I'm aware that they don't really offer it very often anyway. And it's also my understanding that the NHS as a whole will only really tackle a skin issue if they conceive it to be life-threatening. Is that true?
Yeah, yes. I think it's important that we separate cosmetic lesions from potentially concerning ones. Most or many skin lesions are completely harmless, in which case they are suitable for cosmetic removal. However, assessment is really, really key. So, whether a lesion is unusual, whether it's changing, whether there's any visible asymmetry or inflammation. So, with any of those aspects, if I was at all concerned about any of those things, then I would absolutely refer back to the GP before even considering any form of cosmetic removal here in clinic. So, yes, that in answer to your question, the NHS really it's potentially threatening ones, yes, that they would be more likely to deal with rather than cosmetic.
Yes, and that does really point out that clinics like yours are becoming more and more required, and I'm sure busier and busier. And I know when I came to you for treatment, you did point out something that you quite rightly said. Go and have that looked at by a GP before you would. So I look at it. So I think that's an important point that you've made there. And I guess really the stance by the NHS is really saying to us that in their consideration, they are purely cosmetic. But as we age, does that mean that we absolutely have to put up with these things? We have to live with them. And I'm also interested to learn, actually, Anna, if you did leave them alone, is there any chance that any of them could turn more sinister?
So I'm a nurse and I'm trained to assess lesions to determine whether they're appropriate for cosmetic removal. If I had any concerns whatsoever during that assessment, then I would refer back to either dermatologist or GP for assessment in primary care. Because ultimately, yes, these things can be harmful. So it's never worth taking the risk. It always needs proper assessment.
I suffer from the seborrheic, you did say it,
Seborrheic keratosis. Yes.
so common that I believe they've even got a nickname, Seb K. I don't know why
Yes,
anybody.
that's right. Seb K's. Yes.
Why anybody would want to give them a cute name is beyond me. But anyway, but if they were left untreated because the NHS obviously don't want to deal with them, is there a chance they could turn sinister or probably not really? Or is that an
So,
unknown?
um, I think if in doubt with changes, then absolutely always get them checked because, in theory, yes, it could. The reality is, I think it's unlikely with seborrheic keratosis, but I'm not a dermatologist, so I'm not trained um, to predict that sort of thing. And if in doubt with any of those factors, so any changes, any asymmetry, bleeding, inflammation, any of those things, then it would need to get checked by the GP.
Yeah. So really what we've come back to the fact that really this is something that, if you prefer with your skin not to live with these, as I have myself, because I did live with them for many years, I had no idea there was something I could do about them. And I was just absolutely delighted personally to know that you could, which was why I was so keen to talk to you today so that you can tell our viewers the same thing. So I've added a picture above so that people could get an idea of what it is that we're looking at here. And so could you just give us a bit of an idea of the treatment that is available for the SEBK?
Okay, so the treatment I use is called diathermy, and it's a very small probe, and it's electrical currents that generate heat. So the seborrheic keratosis is raised on the skin, so the diathermy works by almost by burning it off the surface of the skin, really, and it just gently scrapes it away. So it does feel a bit of a hot sensation, but it's not particularly unpleasant. Most people it's very manageable, and it just scrapes it away from the surface of the skin using heat. And initially, you have a little bit of a wound that will scab over, and it takes a couple of weeks really for that to heal. And when the scab comes away, the skin underneath will be flat, so it will no longer be raised. And it's very routine to treat those, and generally you do get good outcomes. The only thing that can happen following healing is hypo or hyperpigmentation, normally hypo. So that means the skin is a bit lighter where it was removed than the surrounding skin. But with that can ease more with time over the coming months. It gets less so. But most people, they're happy with the cosmetic outcome, and they'd rather have a small patch of lighter skin than they would the raised lesion.
Yeah, and I would completely agree with you there. I was really, I was very self-conscious, and they can be so dark that they're very noticeable. So I agree with you. That's a small price to pay to not actually have to live with them and have them removed. And in my experience, they don't seem to just stay. Oh, there's one or two of them. They seem to like to, they invite their friends in as well, by the looks of it, from
Yeah.
my point of view. So yeah, and I would say that everybody that's listening, honestly, I am the world's worst. I'm a baby. I don't like going to the dentist, anything like that. But it really is manageable, and I found it absolutely fine. And all the time, you know that you're being looked after. Somebody's doing something that you really want, and it's going to be a great outcome. So yeah, no problem at all with that. And if I say that, that's something. So would you treat skin tags and warts, that kind of thing? Would you treat that the same way as a Seb K?
So it's using diathermy, so still the electrical current to generate heat. Skin tags are a softer tissue, and they come off with one treatment, and they're very effectively removed. They're normally caused by friction, so under where a necklace is rubbing, where a bra strap is rubbing,
Ah,
or in skin folds. Those are very often the cause of skin tags, and they are diathermy is extremely effective for removing those. With warts, that is a virus in the skin, so they can be more stubborn. And it's still using diathermy, slightly different technique, but it can require multiple treatments, whereas skin tags are always removed in one session.
right, okay. And then I also do have one or two of the strawberry spots that you mentioned. Can you treat those? And is it the same again? Is it the same type of treatment?
Yes, so it's still using diathermy as again slightly different technique, but it's very satisfying actually treating the cherry angiomas. They go very quickly. They respond very quickly to treatment. Occasionally they go a bit darker before they go altogether, but yes, you can get very good cosmetic outcomes even with some of the bigger cherry angiomas.
Well, that's good to know because I have one on my leg and it has got bigger over the years. And now in the summer, I like to wear white or cream trousers, and I'm sure that other people may not notice them, but they're noticeable to me. So I feel as though I would like to have them removed. And also, I feel because of what they look like, and they do look like almost like a blood blister to me. I'm always worried I'd catch it on something and and break it. I don't know whether
Mm.
I can, but I think that's another reason if someone does suffer from them, to have them treated as well, really.
Mm. Yes, it's quite a popular treatment, that particularly if they're on the face. People tend to be more self-conscious again because they're difficult to cover with makeup.
Yes, and actually that leads me on very nicely to, well, I'm not sure nice is the word I should use really, but those age spots that you mentioned. I have a few, and I find even makeup, no matter what, I can't seem to really truly cover them up. And from my point of view, I know that is my own fault. I mean, well, I'm fair-skinned, and that's not my fault, but I am fair hair, fair skin. I can't say that I've used SPF on my face, not very often, but I did when I was in the clinic buy one from you, and I religiously use it now. I also
Oh,
decided
yeah.
it was a good idea to have a soft top car for a few years. Maybe that was age again. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the term is, but reliving your youth or whatever. So I had one of those, and also I worked for a company that gave me an office window, an office with a view, and I thought, oh, how lovely of them. But actually, maybe seeing as that's the side I used to sit, and that's where I've got them, then maybe I wasn't so lucky after all. But please tell us that there's something we can do about those.
So there is. Diathermy can be used to treat pigmentation, but it tends to me if you've just got one or two single sunspots, we can treat them, but it does depend on how deep the pigment is, deeply it's affected. So sometimes even with diathermy, I can scrape the surface, but actually you're still left with some underlying pigment. So visually, you don't get a huge amount of improvement. If you do have widespread multiple age spots, there are other cosmetic treatments out there that you would get a better outcome with. So, for example, laser treatments, but also skincare. So there are some very good skincare, medical grade skincares that are formulated specifically for pigmentation or for improving pigmentation. So retinols are particularly good. So is a vitamin C, that's a skin brightener. So there are options there. But ultimately, one of the best anti-aging tools that we have is the SPF, like you mentioned, and it's never too late to do that. So your pigmentation will get worse if you don't protect. And we're talking about on a daily basis. So we're talking about needing to protect regardless of the weather, regardless of the time of year. And also, as you pointed out, it does come through the glass as well, so through windows. So people that are in the car a lot are particularly affected. So to stop these sunspots getting any darker, then definitely number one thing I always recommend in clinic is daily SPF. And like you said, it doesn't have to be thick, white, gloopy sunscreen, which is what I think people think it will be like. You can get some really nice ones now that protect against everything, very, very effective. And yet you can incorporate it quite nicely into your skincare routine, and it sits very nicely under your makeup as well.
Yes, the one that I bought from you, I was really pleased with that. As you said, it does form quite a nice foundation, pardon the pun, for your foundation to go
Yes.
afterwards. So I find that really good. And I do feel as though it makes me feel good that I am doing something to try and help. And I feel like with my age spots here, I almost don't want to feel I'm shallow and I want to get them done for that reason. But I find when and sorry for the men that are watching this, but when you're putting your blusher on, and I feel afterwards, it just makes my face look dirty in that area. It just doesn't sit nicely. So that's why, really, for me, I'd like to have the treatment. But I'm also really intrigued, actually, Anna, with what you're saying about the retinol and the types of skin treatments that you can buy because you always get a mixture out there of, are we doing the right thing by buying them or are we being suckered into, old, and then you read these things, oh, they don't work. And so to actually think that there is something that you can do that will help and somebody of your experience could recommend that. I don't know if you would be able to give us an idea or give me an idea afterwards so that maybe I could put it in the district description box for anybody who would like to look at that type of skin.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. They are more of a long-term approach. So if it's something you're keen to get rid of for an event or to really improve the appearance quite quickly, then looking at treatments in clinic, so such as laser. I actually don't offer laser, but I there are some very good therapists out there who I can always refer you to. So that's more of if you're wanting something with a quicker result, then that's a good idea. But if you're happy to be in it for the long term, then actually the retinol is very, very effective. That's a skin resurfacer. So it speeds up the skin cell turnover. So you get the new fresh skin underneath. And vitamin C as well, that's the skin brightener. And that works by inhibiting melanin production. So your sunspots are obviously melanin, and it inhibits production of melanin, which is why it eventually does brighten the skin without those there. So yes, doing those things as well, a combination approach with your vitamin C, your retinol, and your SPF. That's always what I would recommend to people in clinic for prevention as well as for cure. There are other skincare, and you're absolutely right. I mean, people do get very sucked in, and you can spend an absolute fortune. But the reality is that there are some quite nice medical grade skincare products that are quite budget friendly, easy to use, and you can fit it into your busy lifestyle quite well.
That's so useful to know because, like you say, I'm thinking, somebody might be listening or watching us now and thinking, well, I haven't got age spots. Well, yes, then prevent, do something now to stop having them in the future. But I think also there are so much science out there and so many different products, and I think, well, would I use that in the morning or would I use that at night or do you use them for both? And I think that kind of information would be really useful to know as well. Maybe we could put that also in the description, if you
Yeah.
retinol in the morning or at night or, just the process really, because otherwise you feel if you don't do it right, then you're almost wasting your time and your money as well, really.
Yes, yes, it does need. So retinol has to be at night because UV exposure deactivates it, so it won't work if you use it during the day. So
Oh,
yeah, vitamin C in the daytime and your SPF, and then at night your retinol.
wow. I'll tell you, it's a science, it's an art, isn't it? Thank goodness for people like you. That's what I say.
Oh,
I know at the clinic that you do address a lot of other issues. The skin issues like fine lines and wrinkles. You do fillers and much more. I did see something on your website that some people have a real problem with perspiration more than others, and that must be really hard to live with. And I know that you deal with that. So maybe I'm sure that our viewers would be pleased if I could entice you to come back maybe another time, and we could cover some other issues that you feel would be of interest to people of, the age group 50 plus, men and women. That would be great.
that would be my pleasure. I'd love to. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Anna, thank you so much for taking the time today. I know you've probably had a very busy day in the clinic, and we're catching you at the end of the day, and you have
Oh, you're welcome.
to look after as well. So I very much appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you again, I'm sure. So thank you from myself and from my viewers.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So, did you learn something from Anna Louise today? I certainly did. And I think one of the most important things that we've learned is that we do not have to just live with skin issues as we age. If it's our choice to do so, we can do something about them. And I'm very pleased to learn about that. And I will be visiting Anna Louise for sure. So, I have linked Anna Louise's description of her company and her link to her website in the description box below. Do check her out, and hopefully she will be able to help you in the future as well. And do please leave your comments, any comments on skin issues that we could maybe cover in the future. I'd love to read them. So, suffice to say, thank you so much for joining us at 50 Plus Unfiltered Community today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.